Welcome, acolytes. Today, or again, uh, basically gamers are right wing, as it seems, because we don't play shitty games like Concord. Good, fair enough. I guess I am racist then, because I'm not gonna let myself getting bullied into playing this scummy shit. But let's just see. The pause again. Good, but as I said, let's just see what Ref has to say about it because at the end of the day, damn, this is.
Hey, what's up, guys? Rep here. Merry Christmas, everyone. I hope you enjoy the hat. I'm feeling very festive today. And to celebrate this beautiful day, we're going to do what we do best, and that is dunk on journalists. The article
Whoa, nice. Yes, let's do that.
we're looking at today might be the worst one of 2024, and that is really saying something. This is a hit piece by The Wired that is essentially blaming gamers for the failures of the industry in the year 2024.
I mean, that's nothing new. This always was the case, so. Well, yeah. Fair enough, I guess.
So here's the headline. 2024 was the year the bottom fell out of the games industry. From layoffs to the return of Gamergate, video games and the people who make them and play them had a rough year. Now, yeah, that seems to make a lot of sense, right? When there's games out there costing studios hundreds of millions of dollars, there's going to be layoffs as a result.
I mean, yeah. The CEOs won't get fired, so there's that. But at the end, if you create a shit product, you won't get shit back. Simple as that. Because I'm gonna be honest, it was only for the mostly wokey games that got shafted. A lot of the other games actually got really popular, really positively embraced, and people played a lot of them. So I don't know where this is coming from.
And on top of that, it seems very clear from a lot of different perspectives that a lot of studios and the people who work at them were more interested in political activism than they were creating good and enjoyable games. And guess what? There's consequences as a result of that. Gamers spoke with their wallets, and that's why we're seeing a lot of studios really struggling. Now let's get into the article here. So it says, for the people who make video games, 2024 was a year of holding on for dear life. At the annual Game Developers Conference in March,
That's a good. Oh, that's a positive freaking message. Good, they are holding for dear life. Maybe they get smarter and actually make good games instead of producing shit. And no, I don't give a fuck about anyone who actually tells me that bad games are good. No, they are not. If you like eating shit, eat shit, but don't tell me it's marzipan.
Survive till 25 was this year's incantation summoned to keep morale on pace. That is a very bad look. When at the Game Developers Conference, you have a incantation, as they say, that is survive till 25. That's in March, by the way. So for the entirety of 2024, they basically booked it, right? They're just saying, we got to survive till next year. Well, when you're trying to create art under the mindset of just survive, keep collecting a paycheck and just survive till next year, is it really a wonder that there were so many bad games this year? And also, did surviving till 25 include a bunch of people in the industry constantly attacking and disparaging gamers? I guess so. But to continue on, others resorted to full-on screams as layoffs in the industry charted record highs and developers found themselves under attack for conspiratorial nonsense. So in case you forgot what they mean by this whole full-on screams, this was a bunch of game devs at that conference we just mentioned having a screaming out their inner pain and anxieties about the current state of the game.
Oh my effing god, those freaks. Those effing freaks. I'm gonna be honest, they really need to come to me and I'm just gonna slap them a few times and give them a reality check every time they do some fucked up, stupid shit. That's just... Yeah, those people don't live in reality. Simple as that. I learned butcher. So I actually worked in freaking blood and shit. I slaughtered animals for a living. For a long time. Give them that for a week. Let's see how, if they're gonna be mad and sad about their fucking cushy jobs at a game developer studio. You may have stress, you may have a lot of work, you may have crunch times, but I really want to see you slaughter an animal to eat it late. It's just,
Gaming industry and all of the hardship they face, largely because of gamers. That's really the way they think. So let's listen to this again. Full-grown adults, ladies and gentlemen.
Freaks, no, don't.
Open up the asylums. Yeah, you get the point. I won't subject you to any more of that. So they literally let out a giant scream to express their anger against Gamergate and also all the layoffs in the industry currently. It was a very embarrassing moment. Well, let's continue on with the article here. So, in 2023, more than 10,000 developers lost their jobs. 1/3 of game makers surveyed at the beginning of this year reported that they'd been affected by layoffs in some way. While there were wins for labor organizers as big studios like Activision Blizzard and collective action around fighting for protection from encroachment of AI on employment, the industry's collective brain drain continued in 2024 as workers lost jobs en masse. 6 months in, this year's layoff tally has already surpassed that of 2023. According to Matthew Ball, an advisor and producer in the video game and TV space, 2024's job loss count will wind up being about 40% higher than the previous years. Well, that's not too surprising when you think about it, right? Because there have been so many massive failures. We've seen some record failures this year. You know, normally you see a couple AAA flops. We've seen a dozen or so major AAA flops this year that cost studios hundreds.
Yeah, and of course, you literally produce shit. You cry about your customers. You are actually insulting your customers on a regular basis. And gamers are very, very stupid people. Not very stupid people, but they are stupidly resistant to shit like that. And if you manage to actually scare gamers off, I don't effing know how you did it. Blizzard abuses, like World of Warcraft players specifically, abuses those players since like a decade. 10 fucking years, over 10 years right now. And still, a big portion of that clamors to that fucked up game. And if you manage to scare off that freaking brain dead love and not even love, like dedication to a company that just doesn't give a shit about you, I don't know what to say. I don't know how you manage to actually scare off so much of gamers. I don't know how. That it's basically impossible in my mind. Yes, I just shade on gamers because, let's be honest, hey, microtransactions, guess thanks to who?
Hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars. Of course, there's going to be consequences. People are going to be laid off. Why are people in the industry so surprised that costing investors, studios, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars has a consequence? They have to do something to trim the fat and try to get their money back, which is, you know, the first step is laying people off, of course.
Yeah.
But to continue on, the explanation is complex and wide-ranging for the same reason the layoffs are so deep and continuous and sit alongside many studio closures and even more canceled games, Paul said.
And you know what the worst part is? They get their bonuses. If they just cut the bonuses of the CEOs, they could save a lot of jobs. And I mean thousands of jobs. Just because of some fucking bonuses. Just get the fuck out. I don't.
So yeah, when they say this, as we'll see in this article, they really just mean it's the gamers' fault, right? The gamers didn't support us. The gamers are a bunch of bigoted, anti-woke chuds, and they did this to us. So let's continue on. As the industry faltered, games suffered. High-profile releases like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League were commercial failures. Well, at least they admit it. While there are many reasons for this, online right-wing groups reduced it to a single mantra: go woke, go broke. By their logic, if a game does poorly and has even a whiff of diversity, be it regarding gender, sexuality, or race, that disappointing performance is the fault of DEI. Yeah, a lot of projection and false claims right there. But beginning with the commercial failure of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, here's the article they linked. It's from Bloomberg. And apparently this is just another reason to not check out games journalists, because apparently you have to pay just to view this article where the headline pretty much explains everything. They lost $200 million on this game. That's it. And I have to pay you to read a Jason Schreier article? No thanks, dude. You guys are really getting very cocky with this stuff. Like, the games journalism scene is dying, and you're trying to paywall articles like this that literally can be explained by the headline. But anyways, they go on right here, like they said, with this whole go woke.
I'm gonna be honest, the thing that happens right now with game journalism is probably that they try to get as much money out of the customer as they can, as long as they still have a small breath in them. And after it's dead, it's dead. They want to make a dime out of it. But until then, just grab as much as you can and then piss off.
Go broke. And they say, if a game has any diversity, it's going to fail. No, there's plenty of games that do really well. There's a lot of woke aspects of Baldur's Gate 3. And that game is a massive success, respected by many, many gamers. And it's still outperforming a lot of games in 2024, despite being released nearly a year and a half ago. So that is just a false claim.
By the way, woke is for me just a alert. It's a gigantic red flag. With Baldur's Gate 3, was the same thing. Also saw the shit at the start and I was like, okay. But the thing is, it only was on the start. The rest went out of the window. It was a normal game. Diverse? Yeah, it was diverse. Positively diverse. So I just, it is what it is. I personally found it to be perfect. But it was still a red flag. Just like Witcher 4 is. And the freaking Twitters that actually CD Projekt Red read out. And I'm gonna just say it again. It's just so funny to me that there are still so many people defending it, while the literal devs write in that they don't care about them. It's beautiful irony.
But they continue on, saying although there have been incredible games released this year, Balatro, Final Fantasy VIII Rebirth, Metaphor, Astrobot, Black Myth Wukong, they just couldn't distract from the troubles faced by the people making them. They couldn't make up for the fact that the meta-narrative of video games in 2024 was bleak. You know, for a lot of people, I think there's a lot of games that people did enjoy. I mean, there was a lot of great games, including games like Stellar Blade that they failed to mention, probably for reasons, personal reasons. But there was a lot of good games out there this year. It wasn't all just doom and gloom. And if anything, we saw a lot of small indie games, AA studios, and alike do really well, basically filling in the gaps that AAA releases were allowing to be filled up because they were just very disappointing. But Ball says that the blame for all of this can't be pinned to a single thing, like capitalism, mismanagement, COVID-19, it's 2024, dude. Or even interest rates. It also involves development costs, how studios are staffed, consumers' spending habits, and game pricing. The storm is so brutal, he says, because it is all of these things at once, and none have really alleviated since layoffs began. So this journalist here sees what this person is saying, where at no point do they mention anything about like chud gamers, but they're going to make it about chud gamers. Don't you worry about it. So the next section is for indie developers. Specifically, the threat to their existence has been substantial. The threat to their existence. My God, they're so dramatic. Dozens of small studios shuttered in 2024. Rip Dustborn. Though it's difficult to get a full picture of how many indie studios the industry lost, as there's more likely to shut down quietly without much fanfare or before many players even know they exist. Okay. With dwindling opportunities to get funding from investors and little cash to go around, developers sought alternative methods to fund their games in the past year. Some took bankrolling into their own hands. Among Us creator Inner Sloth launched an initiative to give fellow developers backing to finish projects. Others, like Tales of Kenzera Zhao, developer Surgeon Studios, made their public plans in early development in hopes of attracting investments, all while fending off racist attacks from the anti-DEI crowd, making the challenges they're facing twofold. Now, with Tales of Zhao, the main reason that game failed, or Tales of Kenzera Zhao, is simply because they were affiliated with Sweet Baby. That's not the only reason they failed. This game really just didn't have any momentum to begin with, but it was immediately discovered that they were collaborating with the woke consulting firm Sweet Baby. It was a project listed on their website.
If you do that,
and right then and there,
perfect.
The game just had no chance. And you can blame Sweet Baby for that. Don't blame gamers who don't want to see a game connected to that. And honestly, you know...
Literally, why would I want a game that was influenced by Sweet Baby Inc., one of the biggest bully conductors there exists? Sweet Baby Inc. is literally just full-grown adults that bully people to... It's... why would I even try to listen to that shit? It's just not... Come on!
It all worked out the way that many predicted, with Surgeon Studios doing massive layoffs, and it appears so that they might be shutting down as a result of the failure of this game.
Good.
Again, a lot of people
Don't
might have
associate with
said
bullies.
this wasn't the most woke game, or even woke at all, but the fact it was connected to Sweet Baby was a death mark. And that says a lot about Sweet Baby and really the state of the industry, that people just don't want anything associated with DEI. And that's a fair thing to say, by the way. If you don't like these things, you speak with your wallet. You're allowed to have preferences. If you don't like studios that push DEI, that's your prerogative, and you should be able to choose games to support or not support based on that. But a lot of these people just don't get it. But continuing on, even studios owned by tech juggernauts weren't immune to the industry's contraction. Microsoft shuttered Arcane Austin and Tango Gameworks. Sony shut down Firewalk. The latter's shuttering wasn't wholly surprising. Its big 2024 release, Concord, was largely considered a flop. Largely considered a flop? No, it's unanimously considered a flop. They literally refunded the $1 million they made on this hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollar budget game, and they even returned that $1 million just to save face because it wasn't worth continuing. That is an abject failure, not considered a flop. But anyways, having a hit didn't stop studios a safety net, didn't give studios any safety net. Near universal acclaim for Tango's Hi-Fi Rush didn't stop Microsoft's axe. It did, though, give Tango just enough juice to be revived by a new buyer. Let's see how revived Hi-Fi Rush is. Up 92 players right now. 92 in-game players. Okay, yeah, it's doing great. Great example. In other words, it's been a dismal year for morale.
If you compare it to Concord, it's doing great. So maybe from this aspect, maybe it's pretty good. Who knows? I definitively don't.
Yeah. When developers gathered in Los Angeles in June for Summer Gate Fest, developer New Blood Interactive bought out a billboard solely to memorialize their fellow developers who lost their jobs. We love you. We miss you. We hate
come on, you're acting as if they
What is
died.
going on? Also, how many developer game fest?
Literally, they just have to look for a new job. It's not that hard. Maybe it's hard in their specific. How is it called in English? In ihrer spezifischen Gegend. Maybe there. But I just said it in German, it's fine. But in the end, it's still, if you cannot find a job there, then you have to either work a lower paying job or just, Go to a different state. Go somewhere else. Look for a job somewhere else. Simple as that.
So they have. It's almost like every single month at this point. They love patting themselves on the shoulder for just existing. But anyways, this year may have been the 10th anniversary of Gamergate, the 2014 online hate movement that shaped the internet harassment tactics apparent today. But online, conversations felt like a trip back in time. Conservative ideologues bemoaned the inclusion of characters who did not fit the cookie-cutter image of a white, cis, hetero man. They
Bullshit.
complained that DEI was being forced upon them. It wasn't. No, it was. It's very obvious that it was. We've seen studios just outright say that they're pushing these things, okay? But on top of that, this idea that people only wanted cookie-cutter images of white, cis, hetero men in games. How did games like Stellar Blade do so well with a Asian female protagonist? Like, what is going on? People just want good games. They will gladly accept a minority or a woman in a position of a protagonist if it's actually a good game. That's the problem. It's
Correct.
a shield for criticism. They put a minority as a lead in a game and they have a low quality game. People don't want to play the game because it's just not appealing. Then they blame it on the racists who never gave it a chance in the first place because of the choice of protagonist. It's just a bunch of excuses. But continuing on, in March, harassment towards a small consultancy company called Sweet Baby Inc. reached new heights as bad actors, organized through Discords, Steam forums, and other online spaces, branding themselves as Gamergate 2.0. Dude, they branded themselves as Gamergate 2.0. You branded gamers as that title to make yourselves the perpetual victims. But they continue on. Online
Correct.
mobs harass developers using tweets, DMs, YouTube videos, and Twitch streams. They targeted anyone with any connection to Sweet Baby and any consultancies, a fairly wide net.
And by the way, bravo for every single one that did this, especially the Steam group. Freaking alphas, I don't know how to say it. You're just the gold dragons under everyone. It's just beautifully done. Thank you for everyone that actually did it. Dr. Disaster, also one of the guys that actually regularly does a list of it and just updates it. It's just good. It's just the work of a freaking god. Maybe I overdone. But yeah, thank you to every single one of those people. Good job.
As consultants are often brought on to advise on accuracy, sensitivity, and more. Their mission was fighting against wokeification. The realities of the economic issues impacting games they love had no place in their tactics. The specter of diversity had more pull than analysts and experts. Okay, so basically you're saying the market spoke by what you just said there.
Yep.
But let's go back, okay? Let's just reflect for one moment. Sweet Baby Inc., a woke consultancy firm that has caused ripples across the industry. It is at a point where they basically have to hide everything they're doing. They've been driven even further underground. And once again, we have an article that ignores the reason all of this started. This is the reason the entire backlash against Sweet Baby Inc. reached a fever pitch back in February. Their employee, Chris Kindred, told everyone in his following to falsely report, Steam group Sweet Baby Inc. detected, and the personal account of Cabrutus Rambo, who was the one who created the Sweet Baby Inc. detected Steam group. That is what started a firestorm. That's what ignited all the criticism against Sweet Baby. Again, a journalist who clearly is not very good at their job or incredibly biased leaves out this incredibly important detail because it does.
Of course he's biased. Of course. Because the pendulum still didn't swing enough to the other side to actually matter for those people. But it will. At some point it will. And wait for 10 years from now. Like, this will be way worse. I sadly, or what I think will happen, that the pendulum will swing so hard back that we will get the other side of the extreme. Sadly. But it is what it is. It's still better than this shit. So...
doesn't suit their narrative. But continuing on, games with black leads and characters were derided as forced. Female characters deemed unattractive or masculine were suffering from DEI chin. I had to look this one up. I've never actually heard of a DEI chin, but apparently this is a thing that was created this year. DEI chin is an expression that has been used to refer to perceived trend in female characters in video.
Holy moly of chins, Batman. The Crazy Fox actually did it. The Warhammer 40k female cast. No, it's the ultimate chin in all entertainment. Oh. Oh, by the way, this is a reference to old Batman comics, but perfect.
Video games and animations that have strong, defined jawline associated by some with woke culture, DEI, and modern trends in video game development. So I had not heard of the phrase DEI chin, but thanks to this journalist, I will be including this in future videos because it's an absolute banger. So thanks to The Wired for informing me on a very great tool here. But continuing on, Dragon Age the Veilguard was criticized by far-right trolls for its customization options, which allow players to create characters with top surgery scars or play with non-binary companion. After reviews were released, conspiracists latched onto cliched phrases and other language as proof that Studio BioWare was instructing reviewers how to talk about their game. Well, they definitely did some of that too. It's been proven. But they make this claim that because of these character creation options that these alt-right, far-right gamers would just never give it a chance.
Such bullshit. It's just such bullshit. The character creations of my day were always diverse. I honestly don't have to say anything. Just look at the character creation of old games. Of course, people love that shit. Dark Souls 1, the freaks you could make in that was just... I mean, you could literally make a troll. Or Shrek.
Well, what about Baldur's Gate 3? Having pretty much the same. The difference between Baldur's Gate 3 and Veilguard is that the woke features ended at character creation as opposed to Veilguard, where that was the whole game. It wasn't just a few little things here. The entire storyline was driven by woke nonsense, by characters coming out as non-binary, pulling a barb, doing push-ups and misgendering one another. Like, so much ridiculous stuff. It was caked into every aspect of the game. But next they say, even not released titles face bombardment. Compulsion Games, South of Midnight, I don't have to read anymore. They're affiliated with Sweet Baby. They're a Sweet Baby customer or client. That's it. That is why people are critical of that game. And there's very bad designs. There's a photoshopped example here, but you don't need the photoshopped example. The real examples are not good. But continuing on. But pressure to remain apolitical, a curious agenda for an entertainment form that marries the artistic preferences of narrative and imaginary worlds with agency granted to players who inhabit them. Dude, get over yourself. My God. Did not come just from a vocal minority. Following the release of Black Myth Wukong, some streamers were given instructions to avoid talking about COVID-19 or feminist propaganda. The guidelines had the opposite effect, encouraging streamers to lead with the code words they've been barred from, a push against standards meant to actually censor players. That didn't happen. Where did that happen? I don't see any source for this pushback that people did, apparently against this right here, this notice given to reviewers. That was very simple, okay? Review Black Myth Wukong and don't include a bunch of political nonsense. That's a very fair request from Game Science, okay? And just because...
And by the way, I'm just gonna say it sold particularly well. And I think that not just because it's a good game, but also this just... If you have a good game, you're actually everything around it should embrace the game, just boost it. And Black Myth Wukong would have sold good anyway. But because of those things, it just got pushed a bit more than it actually would have. That's what I think.
You know, these people, like this journalist, are so obsessed with themselves. They think everything is political. Well, you know what? You can review Black Myth Wukong without talking about feminist propaganda. Like, are you kidding me? There's a reason they mention that stuff. It has no place. It doesn't even make sense. It's just annoying and it detracts from giving an honest review of the game.
Correct.
But anyways, looking ahead to 2025, Ball says he hears more pessimism generally. But it just sucks to contemplate, let alone predict. If there is one plus, he says, it's that there is a lot more hiring happening than is generally believed. Downside is it's not nearly compensating overall, especially at indies. As 2024 comes to a close, the industry is operating from the outside with a business as usual mindset. In December, developers gathered in Los Angeles to celebrate the Game Awards. On stage, host Geoff Keighley made a small speech amid game announcements, accolades, and a performance from Snoop Dogg. The sad reality is that over the past few years,
stop listening to effing politicians and actors about games. Those fuckers don't know anything. It's the same as freaking gamers, actors about politics. They don't know shit about it. Please stop listening to their invalid, fucked up reasoning. Get an actual YouTuber that knows his shit and hear what they have to say. Not Snoop Dogg. Ask Snoop Dogg about rap. Ask Snoop Dogg about the best tweet you can get in a mile, in the next 10 miles. Don't listen to him about politics. And that's just one of many. It's just no matter which effing musician, don't freaking... It's... Okay, you understand the accolades. It's just...
the gaming industry has suffered significant and unprecedented industry-wide layoffs, Kaylee said. Those affected by those affect the games we get to play, and even more important, the people who make the games we love. We can debate on certainly disagree with the reasons why. And honestly, as a show of, we kind of struggle with how to address these topics in a constructive way. I'm sorry, my brain's literally rotting from reading this article, but we're almost through it, okay? There's one more section that's important. Kaylee used this segment to introduce the Game Awards' first Game Changer Award, a nod to an individual who had positively impacted the industry. Then the show continued with headline-dominating announcements about major projects like The Witcher 4 and the next title from Last of Us developer Naughty Dog. Well, that's great. So this whole Game Changer Award was a massive controversy. So this is the individual right here who was presenting himself as this humble, small member of the industry, right? This humble guy. Turns out he is a major executive at Tencent and responsible for acquisitions of other IPs. AKA, this is the guy that ends up getting thousands and thousands of people in the industry laid off. So this journalist is complaining about layoffs the whole time while praising the guy who's responsible for thousands of those examples. That's how tone deaf or willingly ignorant these people are to what's going on around them. And also we have games to look forward to. Oh, like Intergalactic that everyone's absolutely crapping on. Even Witcher 4, which actually has a chance of being a pretty good game.
Yeah, it has a chance.
Even that's getting a lot of flack because of things going on behind the scenes, the words of their developers and people on their team that are attacking gamers, attacking the lore of the Witcher saga. It's a big mess. Even games that really are just a ball on a tee are getting messed with because people in the studios, they can't shut their mouth. But let's conclude this. Cool. Amid all of this is the specter of AI. There's still little insight on how much AI will continue to grow and how future games might use it, but it's a rising concern as rank and file workers are laid off. No one knows when or if the industry will bounce back with sustainable jobs and compensation. Yes, there will be games to play. It's harder to say how many people will be able to make them. Well, maybe trimming the fat's a good thing, and maybe people actually start to reflect on what 2024 was. It was a rejection of low quality slop. It was a rejection of virtue signaling, and it's trying to push the industry towards what gamers actually want. Fun and appealing games. That's it. That's the formula.
Correct.
It's really complicated, I know, but people in the industry who really know what they're doing, they understand this, and that's why they're still succeeding while everyone around them is flopping. But that's going to do it for this video. Again, Merry Christmas, everyone. I hope.
Thank you, Rev. This was a quite long one, actually. But hey, this was also a fun one. So yeah, there's that. I hope you enjoyed it. Good night, Acolytes.